People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, there's been a lot of noise and a lot of chatter in relation to Arsenal's investigation over transfers. Raul Sanllehi, Lille boss has spoken, and he's spoken about Gabriel and Pepe. So I thought let me just get into it really and truly. Where's my manners? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on who you are, wherever you are, obviously, people. But Gerard Lopez has told Sky Sports he does not think that Nicolas Pepe's 72 million move to Arsenal was to blame for Raul Sanllehi leaving the club, and it shouldn't. I mean, I get it. If you're looking at him, you're looking at Torreira's case and Leno, where we've allegedly heard that the club are investigating, have we paid too much to agents? Maybe not necessarily overpaid in terms of the transfer fee, but just conducting a review as to where we do things, sort of thing. Obviously, he's not going to be critical of Arsenal like that, because it's for one, it's disrespectful. He's a club official. He knows how it is. Two, it's really nothing to do with him. Three, it's within his best interest to keep the top teams. I know we finished 8th, but the top teams in England and around Europe on side. We know Lille have a good selling model. They've just bought Jonathan David. In a couple of years, if he keeps developing, he's someone that's sold on somewhere. And he follows in with Victor Osimhen, who was at Wolfsburg, I believe, wanted by Arsenal and many teams as a teenager, got his feet wet at Lille, developed himself, and he's gone for 70 odd million. You've got Gabriel with the same. You've got Pepe, who isn't particularly worth 72 million as much as I think he's a decent player, but they've got that. And they want this model to keep working. So why would you go and damage potential customers like Arsenal have shown themselves, like other people have shown themselves? It doesn't make sense. He said, I think it's made up stuff. I know for a fact he has an excellent relationship with the club and they left on excellent terms. There are always going to be stories that try to be interesting. Arsenal are going through a restructuring, which is part of what happens. He's a great guy. It's a great club. And as far as I can see, both Raul and Arsenal respect each other immensely. They have a player where people forget his age, Pepe, and the fact he took one season to click within our system and then became the player which we all know. Again, he took time to adjust at Lille, which you can see when he left Angers. He had a couple of iffy seasons at Lille, and you saw him really take it up. And like I said it when he signed for us, that season was a super season from him. But even then, it's not like he can't control the price tag. And I'm not saying Pepe couldn't do more. There's many things Pepe could have done more. But people seeing the price tag and thinking complete player when he's not. He's the furthest thing from that. We also know it's not 72 million. There you go, sort of thing. It's if he hits everything. So there you have it. It's like people don't understand the player you're getting. It's like Ozil. People think Ozil's gonna be the man that's gonna dig us out and do things. Or people want Pogba to score 100 goals, get 100 assists. The man there are not for that. But moving forward, he said, he's had a good second half of the season at Arsenal, and he's one of the rare players who can make something happen from nothing. The more comfortable he gets at the club, the more he will make things happen. So I think the best is yet to come. And I echo that. And I'd say one thing, I do think there's things Pepe could have done better. Consistency, decision making. He took a while to really adjust and to the demands of what Arteta wants from his wingers defensively. I think he's a very easygoing figure, but I think he's got to realise he's the talisman. He's got to be a bit more demanding of himself, a bit more demanding on teammates. But the early ingredients are there for Pepe. He's got to demand it. He's got to be that Henry. I know he's not the same personality, but he's got to demand more of himself and teammates. Demandable, take the game by the scruff of its neck rather than be on the peripheral things from time to time and waiting for things to happen. But it's true, the more confident he gets, the more he'll make things happen. He's making things happen, He's a very decent player for us. I believe in Pepe, man. I don't know if he's going to do this Mane and Mohamed Salah thing and, be the flag bearers of the Premier League and be up there when you speak of them two and Kevin De Bruyne. But what I do believe is he can be a competent outlet for us on that right-hand flank and one of the players we look at to make the difference. Beyond that, it's down to him how good he wants to be. Moving away from that, though, he was pressed on the state of play about Gabriel. He said, there was apparently teams that were interested. He said, that would be about right. There have been 2 teams who have shown up over the past few weeks who are a bit late to the party, to be honest. He's a great kid and is one of the most important things. He didn't have an easy start with us given the fact that at the time the coach didn't trust him because of his age. He's a real fighter and has immense physical presence but knows how to use it smartly. He's still raw, and I know the Brazil national team are looking at him very seriously. I think he's at the start of something big, and he does everything to succeed. And he is very raw because you see, he likes to defend. He likes to step out and win the ball. That can cost you. He's got to develop. 1 minute Napoli are going to sign him. Chelsea were going to sign him a few weeks ago. Everton, allegedly, he's had a medical at a time, and he was going to sign for Everton. Then 1 minute he's signing for us. Then he's signing for Napoli. Then his family are liking Arsenal Fan TV posts on Instagram. His sister manager is following Edu's family members, then following the club. It's all a circus, and until he signs with the shirt, like I said about Aubameyang in the previous vid, it's all air, people. I would like Gabriel because I believe in him. I think he's got the raw components. I think he's got age on his side, and obviously as a fan, finances and these things are irrelevant to me per se, but 30 million, you know, there's a lot worse you could do with 30 million on the centre half in today's day and age. You know, if worse comes to worse, you'd imagine you can get your 30 back for him. He said he's one of the players that we've allowed to exit the club this summer. He's asked for it and wants to try something else. We clearly told him what our expectations were. We spoke to a number of clubs. Our expectations were met by a number of clubs, and we've given him time to decide. And you have heard he's going to make a decision on Arsenal by the end of the week. And on one hand, he's within his rights to take his time over his decision. No one should pressure him. But on the other hand, and maybe this is pride and ego speaking, but I do, regardless of where Arsenal are, for me, if you've got to consider Arsenal, if you're not ready to just come and sign for this team, unless you're, you know, the rare bracket of players, then for me, as much as I want him, we should conclude that this isn't the thing. If you've got to think about it, it's not the thing for you. Like Arteta says, we don't need to convince, man. We're 8th, you know, we've had one of our worst starts. We're firmly in the Europa League, you know, there's several things wrong. But at the same time, you've got to have some values. If a man's got to think about this, F off. If he's got to think about the club. Obviously for Gabriel, he's got to think about his family, he's got to think about the next few years, he's got to think about a lot, so I get it, but I'm just saying that as another talking point for you guys. And like you can see with Lille, it's in their best it's in their best interest to get the highest price, so they're going to spark a bidding war. They're hardly going to say a club, even if they are tying up loose ends on this deal, they're hardly going to come out and say it's done. Or they might do with the sort of, what's the word, the plan to engineer a bidding war or make people throw a bit more money and feel a bit more pressurized. It's all, transfers are all a game of poker, as you lot have seen, people. He said it's going to entirely be his decision. We try to steer our players into certain directions, but at the end of the day, it's the decision of the player. I know he's going to make a decision early next week. It went on to say of relevance, people. Yeah, that was it, of relevance, people. Moving away from that, though, yes, I think these were earlier comments he made, people, when you actually were finding out about the Arsenal thing. Gerard Lopez said, we are there now, so we told him eventually you have to make a decision, but we're not pressing you. I think he'll make it this week or next week at the latest. He's leaving. We've given the okay for that. There's a lot of competition. He's a young player, so he's got to make sure he makes the right decision. We will help him out a little bit so we can tell him we think this might be the manager or club for you. And I think if he's still a developing player, who better to come to than Arsenal? Napoli develop players greatly, but who better? That's what we're trying to do as a club. You know, we're promoting Haaland, or we're using our youngsters. We've got a young manager himself. We've even got a relatively new, you know, Edu. He hasn't been in this direct. He's not the most experienced on the face of it. So it should be us, but it's up to him, people. It really is up to him. On the topic of Raul Sanllehi, though, I forgot to mention these comments before, people. I came across another athletic article, and it said, Sanllehi came in April 2019 when he led high-level discussions. Apologies, people. When he led what? Don't know who that was. But he said, what the hell was all of that? When sorry, people. Should be on private. Yeah, sorry, people. When he led high-level discussions about extending Unai Emery's contract without first receiving approval from owners Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, KSE. There was also unrest at Sanllehi's political position. The Athletic understands that in recent months, a member of the board sought to have a one-on-one with the head coach Mikel Arteta, only to be informed the meeting could only take place with Sanllehi's presence. So this is someone that's probably overstating his position. You're doing things without the manager's say-so. You're becoming a dictator. And this is all under the guise or the facade of saying that Arsenal are trying to do this collaborative approach, people. So only he knows in that regards. Yeah, so which is, you never want to hear that. Everyone should be able to speak to anyone. Sanllehi opposed the proposal to add David O'Leary to the board to provide football oversight, which again is scary, and it seems like he doesn't want people that could debate him. As someone who survived several regime changes at Barcelona, Sanllehi came from a world where adjusting for power is simply part of the game. However, that style of management did not always sit right at Arsenal. And again, you're telling us collaborative, but you're causing friction. You need friction. You want people to have strong opinions and strong things, and if you mean no, and see things differently. But we've always got to remember it's for the collaborative good of the club, and this is, it's like football, and it's much like in these positions. People have a hard time deciding what is right for the club and what's right for them, because they can't see things without looking at it through their ego. I'm not saying this is Sanye, I'm just saying as an outsider, this is what I believe. Apparently, concerns have also surrounded Arsenal's approach to the transfer market when Sanye arrived from Barcelona. The suggestion was his black book would help open doors and involve a recruitment process that had arguably fallen behind some of its competitors. And now, you know, a year later, or just over a year later, can we say of any of these things? There's been some good, obviously, examples, but has Raul Sanye really delivered on what he said he was going to do? It is what it is. Apparently he was the sole person involved in Aubameyang negotiations, like actual, I guess, dotting I's and crossing T's, so we'll give him a bit of a blag for that. And he was involved in Willian, and he's also helped us try to secure the signature of Gabriel, so these are like parting gifts from him. But it is what it is. When we all look back at his time here, like Mislintats, like when Glazidez was actually installed at the club, it's not worked. It's not worked. Like 3 different models and projects. I've got more sympathy for Sanye and Mislintat than Glazidez, but adding him into it, the 3 models we tried to approach in, you know, with Glazidez, stat DNA, being a bit smart, being a bit frugal, relying on FFP, it didn't work. Mislintat, stars of tomorrow, for whatever reason, it didn't work. Raul Sanye, Barcelona, contact books, well respected in the game, it didn't work. So we need to find something that does work. On that note though, there's nothing more to add. I'm going to get out of it. It's always a pleasure. DG.